Welcome to the Leaderonomics Show. We'll be speaking with Ashwin Rajgopal, Managing Director of L'Oréal Malaysia. Ashwin has travelled extensively across the world and lived in many countries and working in different situations in different countries across the world. Join Lily Cheah today as she speaks to Ashwin on how his international exposure has helped him to become a better leader. Watch the Leaderonomics Show with Ashwin Rajgopal, Managing Director of L'Oréal Malaysia.
Hi and welcome to the Leaderonomics Show. Today we have the special privilege of having with us Ashwin Rajgopal. He's the Managing Director of L'Oréal Malaysia. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, Lily, thank you for having me on the show. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Now you have been with L'Oréal for many years now, since 2002.
That's right.
And I understand you have, so you did your MBA in INSEAD in France. But what I found very interesting was if you backtrack a few years before that, you did a biochemistry, Bachelor of Science in biochemistry.
That's right.
In Mumbai. Now what's led you from biochemistry all the way to where you are today?
Well, I think it wasn't really planned for. It was one of those accidental turns in life. I really wanted to pursue my master's in biochemistry, and I had everything carved out in that direction. I was supposed to go off to the States and do my MS program there. And then, in that interim, I found a job, and one thing led to the other. It turned out to be interesting, and I thought my true calling lay in the corporate world. And before I realized that, I had an assignment in the Middle East. I was off to Dubai. Then I thought I'd probably, cement this part of my transition, and that's when I decided to pick up a management degree. I went off to INSEAD in France, and after that, it's been a journey with L'Oréal now for 13 years.
Was there a moment though when you said, for sure, management is where I want to go? What were you doing at that time when you realized, I need to shift?
Well, it's been a long time now. I can't really think of that precise moment, but I'd imagine that, somewhere along the line, you find your calling, and I think that comes in the form of your passion. You realize that you're enjoying what you're doing, and you tell yourself, this is what I want to do every day. So I can't really think of it as a definitive moment in time. I think it's what happened over a period of time. Yeah. And I think today something that I thoroughly enjoy, and I can see that in my work every day. So I know I took the right decision somewhere long ago.
And that's what's kept you in L'Oréal for all these years?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you spent time in L'Oréal India, that was until 2008, and then as GM of L'Oréal Indonesia, and then here as MD of L'Oréal Malaysia since 2012.
That's right.
So it's been a very long career with L'Oréal. I'm sure you'd have lots to share on talent development as well. Now I wonder with how many employees right now in L'Oréal Malaysia?
We have around 300 here in the office, and if I count the field staff, we're close to 1,000.
So how do you view developing people, especially since it's a very, I'm sure, increasingly diverse workforce as people are moving around. What are your thoughts on the development process?
I think we start with the individual at L'Oréal. We're not a very system-driven organization. We're not a very process-driven organization. We are a very individual-led organization, and all our talent propositions start with that one concept. And that's our philosophy. That's what we adhere to. So it doesn't matter to us what the experience is. It doesn't matter to us which school you've been to, what your gender is, which nationality, what your nationality is. What's imperative is who you are as an individual. And that, for us, is defined by your ability to run an enterprise. How entrepreneurial are you within the organization? So we look for leaders right from the start. We look for people who can challenge dogmas, people who are willing to challenge the status quo. These are the kind of people we cull from the pack, and then we put a very formal development program in place for them. A lot of our development is mobility driven. We take young talent. We have some Malaysians, for instance, now working in Paris, working in Singapore, working in Shanghai. So mobility is very important for us, and it's our belief that the more globally exposed young talent is, the better they're able to deliver when they come back. So that's an integral part to our development program. The other aspect of development is to ensure that individuals are able to, as I said earlier, rise above the process. Yeah? So we really encourage talent within the organization to confront in a very positive manner, to bring in opinions to the table, to bring in a point of view, to get people to speak their minds out. Sure. And that's part of our development program. So we encourage them to do that from a very, very early stage at L'Oréal.
If I can touch on just 2 points that you brought up there. So mobility, and I understand you yourself have moved several countries as well. So do you say that for any person who is really wanting to push themselves, mobility is something that need to build into their development process?
I think it's important. May not be absolutely mandatory, not absolutely necessary, but I think it's important. I think it gives you a very wide perspective. It gives you a global view on how businesses are run, how organizations are run. So I think it changes who you are once you've traveled. And I think what adds to the self dimension when you travel is the fact that you're able to aggregate opinions that stem from different cultures. You're able to look at viewpoints that have been shaped by different upbringing, different schools of thought.
Sure.
And what then happens is that your own opinion thereafter is stronger. You're more robust when you have a point of view. So I think it's an interesting dimension. I think it really augments who you are.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is, travel as much as you can early in your career. Try to pick up assignments in different countries. Doesn't matter which country, and you'll always come back a stronger professional.
That's great. That's great. I'm just going to pause you there, and we're going to head back after this short break with more with Ashwin Rajgopal, the MD of L'Oréal Malaysia. Hi, thanks for joining us. Again, we are still here with Ashwin Rajgopal, and we were just talking about mobility and the importance you were saying of spending time in lots of different locations, just because the exposure to different cultures enforces your point of view. Now, having spent time in India as well as Indonesia and then now Malaysia, how has that shaped you as a leader?
I see challenges exist at two levels, if you may. One is at the macro level, and being associated largely with the emerging markets, there are always certain challenges that come with that territory. There's always the conflict between investment and return, the conflict between opportunity and risk. So you got to face those challenges at a macro level. At a micro level, you have what you encounter every day. The plan that you did plan for, the unforeseen situation that you suddenly find yourself in. Now, what has happened over the years is I think there is a better sense of readiness in me to deal with those challenges. There are three things that I very strongly adhere to when it comes to rising up to meet a challenge. The first of which is you have to get things done. To me, that's imperative, because more often than not, you spend a lot of time in thought leadership. You think about, you plan around the problem, you think of all the possible ramifications, you think of every possible repercussion, and in the process, you forget to get it done. So for me, one of the big things is, when you rise up to the challenge and you've taken a call, you've got to bore through the challenge and get things done. The second is always be surrounded by talent. Okay, you never know when talent is going to come to your rescue. So I've always ensured that I have a very talented team around
How
me.
do you define as talent? What do you define as talented?
I think talent in the context of L'Oréal, as I mentioned earlier, people who have the ability to challenge dogmas, people who have the innate ability to deal with risks, people who are very authoritative with their thinking, they're very directive, okay, they're very clear cut, they know what they have to do based on experiences, education, whatever it is. So I think these are the qualities to me that make up talent. The third is I think you always need to have your life in balance. Okay, if it's not, and if it's unfavorably tilted, then when the challenge manifests itself, you might be ill-equipped. So for me,
What's balance?
I was alluding to work-life balance, you know, and I think that's important that comes, that's there, that's in place. If you have to equip yourself to meet up with professional challenges.
Well, we're going to have a short break again, and we're going to come back with some wider questions, maybe some routines that Ashwin has always kept in his life to make sure that his mind stays really sharp and fit. So we'll be back right after this short break. Welcome back. And so we're just going to get into to knowing really some personal routines that you keep to make sure that you are always on form. Now, I'm sure you have a very, very busy schedule. What are some things that you build into your day, your week, to make sure that you're constantly on the ball?
I derive a lot of support from family. Okay, but I spoke about work-life balance a while ago, but I must confess that it's a bit skewed towards family. Okay, so it's family first, and I get a lot just spending time with my son, for instance. It just frees me of the grind at work, and he comes up with all these nuggets. He also keeps me informed of what's happening in the digital space.
How old is your son?
He's 14. Right. So he's great company, and I count him as one of my closest friends. So there's a lot that I get out of family. Two, I read a lot. It sounds a bit trite, sounds a bit hackneyed, but I read a lot, and I think that just keeps me well informed. It just allows me to ensure that I always have a very global context to whatever I'm doing or whatever I've decided to do.
What do you read? What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading this book on, I forget the name, it's called Plato and the Platypus Walk to a Bar. All right,
like a book.
Yeah, I hope I've got that right. I'm not so sure I've got the title exactly right, but it's a great book. So, it just, it's somewhere between philosophy and economics. And then finally, I make it a point to play tennis at least once a week. I do that with my son more often than not. It's not very flattering of late because he beats me hands down. But yeah, I still make it a point to kind of play with him.
But how do you fit that in? So are you very regimented with your schedule? Because some people would say, with so much responsibility in your role, it's easy to just have really long days at the office. Do you have to very intentionally build these into your life?
I wouldn't say it's regimented, but I would surely say that it requires a bit of discipline. And I think, what you get out of life depends on what you put into it, So for me, I do make it a point to get home as early as it's possible. I don't work on weekends. I don't encourage my team to work on weekends, okay? No unearthly emails. I don't expect any responses from my team unless it's a crisis, unless there's an exigency. Yeah, but I think it's discipline that at the end of the day helps me through.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so we're going to play a round of Thinkonomics now.
Okay.
And I don't know what question's going to come up, but let's see. It could be very much linked to work-life balance, but we're going to see what comes up.
Okay.
Now, if you're unfamiliar with Thinkonomics, it's a game that we've developed here at Leaderonomics, and there are 5 categories, and you'll see 2 dice here.
Okay.
Maybe let's just pick one. Let's do one.
All right. Okay.
You're just going to throw that, and we're going to
Okay.
see what category we get. And it's the category of relationships.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so let's see what comes up. All right. Here's the question. What is the most important ingredient for you to establish a strong relationship?
I think it all starts, I think the epicenter is trust. And it's not just blind faith. It has to be trust that has been demonstrated through actions. You know, so you kind of build it. It's not something that should be taken for granted, or it's not something that should be dictated by the relationship. You know, I am in this relationship, so you've got to trust me. Okay, it's not that. It's something that has to be cultivated. You've got to earn it. Yeah, but once it's there in place, I think it's probably the fulcrum.
With the epicenter of everything.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me on board.
And thank you for joining us with our Leaderonomics Show today with Ashwin Rajgopal. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more Leaderonomics Show interviews. Until the next time.